Yes. Yeah, Sister Shobna, please come on the screen. And I request all the participants to turn on your videos for some screenshots. All of you, please turn on your videos, because today we begin the first day of the third week's classes. I want all the participants to turn on your videos and come on the videos. Mr. Mohan,
Sir, I'm ready,
kindly,
sir. I'm ready.
yes, kindly take some screenshots. We have the resource person, Dr. Sister Shobna. So with her, all of us will have some screenshots. So for about 15 seconds, kindly keep smiling. Keep on smiling. By the time you already had a lot of practices to smile, so keep on smiling for 15 seconds till our uh, technician, Mr. Mohan, and his team doing a wonderful job for the last 13 days, including the offline classes. So we give him another opportunity to shoot us. Mohan, when you are done, please let us know. All the participants, please turn on your videos and come on the videos.
Sir, done, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. So it's 6 o'clock. I request Ms. Kezia Jacqueline to introduce today's and this week's resource person, Dr. Sister Shobna. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So, Dr. Sister Shobana Michael is a distinguished psychologist, counselor, motivational speaker, and author. She holds a doctorate in psychology. She has dedicated her career to the advancement of mental health and personal development. She is the recipient of the Indian President's Award 2011 for significant contributions to the field of mental health. She is the member of the American Psychological Association. As a former department head, she brings a wealth of expertise and a deep sense of empathy to her work. She inspires individuals to realize their full potential, navigate challenges, and flourish. She is the acclaimed author of The Alchemy of Self-Awareness, Wisdom in Wrinkles, and Elevate Your Life. Her works empower individuals to cultivate emotional intelligence, resilience, clarity, and happiness. She's known for her positive and transformative approach. She continues to make a lasting impact in education, counseling, and beyond. Dr. Sister Shobana, we are delighted to have you with us and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you for your introduction, dear. And I am very happy to welcome you all for this integrated model of counseling. And I'm sure that all 3 weeks that you had it, a theoretical aspect like foundations of counseling, micro skills in counseling, and the 3rd unit about the skills of self-disclosure and skills of empathy. So let's go ahead.
Sister, your slides are not moving.
Not moving, that's what I saw it.
Yeah. So what you could do at the bottom, you have using your laptop?
Yeah, I'm using the laptop.
Yeah. So
And stop sharing and then start.
right, click the right arrow at the bottom. Fine. Yes, yeah. Right,
Okay.
right. Yeah.
So today we will be dealing with the 13 steps of counseling. Okay. I mean, if you look at this picture, PPT, you can see the one side is very clear arrow mark going step by step. So counseling is, it looks as if it's very easy, especially the steps, but the right side of the PPT you see a bit harder. But with the right attitude and with your effort, it's easy. So let's see what all that you have covered. The first unit you have covered about the foundations of counseling, what is counseling, the process of counseling, goals, and counselor as a person and a professional. A little bit about self-awareness was explained by Father. Then psychodynamics mechanisms, counselors' values, issues faced by the beginner therapist, the ethics and the ethical principles, and the ethical issues. And we looked at this Freud's psychodynamic theory, humanistic psychology, and rational emotive behavioral therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. That is what is Father Emma was trying to explain to us. When we look at the second unit, Ma'am Jasmine has spoke about very clearly on different micro skills, especially attending, listening, reflection, and active probing and summarizing. And the third unit we saw where Dr. Balaya spoke about skill of disclosure, interpersonal skills, and the different needs, deficiency, B needs, M needs, and emotional disclosure, expressing your feelings and emotion, empathy, and communicating empathy. So far, you have seen is this. Now, we need all this theoretical knowledge in order to put it into action and to have an integrated counseling model. So before getting into the steps, let me just introduce what type of mental preparation we need to have, we as a counselors. Especially, we need to have a neutral mindset, that is without any judgment, not biased, and manage our emotions. See, none of us are free from, though we are a trained personnel, but still we all have certain times an imbalance of emotion. Make sure before getting into your counseling session, a type of balanced emotions has to be practiced or become aware of it or become conscious about it. Again, we need to have a clarity in our own mind what we are going to, because we will never know what type of client is coming to us. So we need to have a clarity in our thoughts. Of course, self-confidence and have an open heart so that the client receives the maximum support from us. Our aim is let the client receive the maximum support. So the first dimension, I will call it as a facilitative dimension. It's called as a pacing, or that is a word that is in NLP, but especially in when we talk it in a local layman's term, it is simply as a mirroring. That is the first dimension we call it. So in that, the first one is first step we need to keep in mind is warmly welcome the client and make him or her comfortable with a small talk. So let's take the first part of it. Warmly welcome the client. We are all very familiar with welcoming the people, especially in our Indian culture. So maybe in a counseling section, you can wish them like according to the time, either it is say good morning or good afternoon according to the time. And if the culture allows you, you can also give a shake hand. And whatever it may be, whatever may be the culture, you can give a genuine smile to the client. Don't expect the client to respond to you with a genuine smile, because client is coming to us with an imbalance in her or his emotions. Then some of the kindest skills we can offer is offering a chair for the client, give a glass of water. Suppose the client is coming after a long journey, you can also just inquire whether they like to use the restroom. All these are part and parcel of our life. So we need to make the situation or the environment a very conducive for the client, that is make it familiar to know the client who he or the acquainting part of it. As the acquainting part takes place, we also need to build a rapport with the client, especially setting a tone, even in your wishing, either good morning or good afternoon or whatever it may be, you need to set a tone for the client, need to feel that the client is welcomed. The quality of relationship depends upon the goal of your counseling. So as it is said, first impression is the best impression. So some of the research says the client assists you within the first 7 seconds of whom you see, the environment or the counselor. So make sure the first impression is the best impression. Of course, we also need to give a privacy for the client. We just can't have a where there is an open space as such for a counseling. So always keep in mind a conducive atmosphere, providing a privacy for the client so that we can focus on to the problem of the client. So the first step, the second part of it is making the client comfortable with the small talk. So maybe like, again, it varies from person to person. If the client is male, maybe you can start with asking some questions, saying, how about the weather? If it is a female, maybe adult person, means you can even start with like something on cooking or something you feel that they are interested in. That's the only way you can hold them or build a relationship. Of course, as the small talk is going on, you can also ask them to have a consent, whether they are willing or they are forced by others to come for counseling. And always remember to tell them that this session will be about 45 minutes to 1 hour. The meantime, you also need to build a confidentiality with the client. By the time you have this short talk or a small talk, client need to feel that, okay, I can open up to this counselor. She or he seems to be a confidential person, and it is an opportunity for me to express my emotional imbalance or behavioral problems or whatever the client is going through. So during the small talk itself, you can use some of the social skills like saying that I'm so-and-so, I'm Shobha, a full-time counselor, the place where you're working, whether in the college you're working or school, you can always say where you're working. And towards the end of that, you can say, I am here to listen to you, which means you're giving an opening for the client that I am here to listen to you. Then just remain a little time, give a pause so that the client is able to accept that I can accept the counselor as such. Then after the pause or giving a little bit of silence, you can invite the client to talk. You can just say casually also, you can make it, don't go too professional because then they may not feel at home with us. So you can say, one way of saying is that, what do you like to share? If it is a children, mostly, or the college, you can also ask them, what are your hobbies? So you start building a rapport with them by asking different questions. But here, if it is an adult and it is already planned, an appointment is given, you can ask them, what do you like to share? Remember, as a counselors, we have the duty to use all the politeness skills like thank you, please, sorry, pardon, as we talk in our normal conversations. So that was the first step that we need to keep in our mind when we do the counseling, that is warmly welcome the client and make him or her comfortable with a small talk. I hope it is clear. Okay, so let's go to the second step. Observe the body language of the client. I'm sure all the previous professors who took class for you spoke at large about the body language because it's very, very essential during counseling. Most of the things we can understand from the client is through their body language more than their words. From my experience, being with student adolescents or adult or couple counseling or married counseling or elderly counseling, what I understand is that much more than the words, you can understand them with a body language. As a psychologist, Mehabrin studies says that body speaks most. That is 7% is verbal. That is our words. That is a 7%. And 38% is vocal. So when we talk about a vocal is what you say, where, how you say and what you say is important. So vocal is how you say, verbal is what you say, the words that you use it. Then 55% is bodily, the hand gestures, mouth, and the position which you sit or leaning forward. All this will give us a clue how the client or how the mental status of the client is. Then, as Freud says, you can even understand the client with the fingertips. Maybe you'll be surprised how we can assess the client with the fingertips as such. So it is a saying that the unconscious peep through the body. So again, you would have learned it when Father spoke about the psychodynamic theories, defensive mechanism, psychosexual stages. There you can connect it with this client, the unconscious peep through the body. Again, as I said, the body speaks a language because it's something that we need to listen, we need to observe. So Jasmine was repeatedly telling about the listening skills. So this listening is verbal, non-verbal, and symbolic way of listening. We need to practice it. Again, some of the client will show a certain type of displays activities. It's normally when they are sad or due to hurt feelings, they will show their displays activities. Then according to Freud, the psychodynamic unacceptable desires are pushed into the unconscious. Already you would have seen, even in normal cases, we can know that certain things are pushed in. They don't present themselves with a feeling, but they will displace activities, they will be showing it. Then certain pattern of muscular pattern, that is a fixed muscular patterns reveal set attitudes. Quite often I have seen like client when they come, they're very stiff because of the emotional imbalance in their mind, mental attitude in their mind. They don't even have that freedom to open up. They are very, very resistant client. So that fixed muscular activities are seen in their body itself. Then some of them will be just saying, sitting with no energy at all. Especially most of the depression cases, if they come, you can see the energy level is very, very, very low. Out of 10, maybe just not even half, or maybe 1%. That's all the energy level will be. Again, we have to be very, very careful about, very, very observant about the hand and the arm gestures. So how the movement of the hand, how the arms are moved. So all these are points for us to observe and understand what is the status of the client, and by looking at the body language of the client. So let's go to the third, attend to the client physically. I'm sure earlier that is attending skills are very well explained. Here we talk about physical attending. I'm not talking about the attention. I'm talking about attending the client. Here again, depends upon your attitude, the mood. That depends upon the client attitude and the client mood. So here you need to have a selection process and focus on what exactly the client wants. Even from the physical attending, we can have a certain ideas. So attending is a consecrated awareness of a selected object in our environment. So you are trying to select, you are trying to focus. And again, attending is a state of mind set for a certain kind of stimulus. So at times when students come with behavioral problems, I have noticed that it will really help us if we have an attending skills. You can already read their mind, even what they are going to speak to you. So if you can have that attitude and the effort to attend clearly, you will get at least 10 to 20% of the problems before they could even open up their mouth to say their problems. So again, here, two types are there: physical attending and psychological attending. So let's look at the modalities of physical attending. So how the distance should be. So when we talk about this distance, zone distance, intimate zone, personal zone, social zone, public zone. Here, the counseling zone is 3 to 4 feet from the client and the counselor. The distance should be 3 to 4 feet. I'm sure it's already explained about solar, you remember. Then squatting, the sitting position is looking at the client. Eyeing or gazing, looking at the client again. Eyeing in speaking and listening. Frequency of eyeing, eye blocking, kind of eyeing. Quite often I have noticed when client comes to us with the blinking of eye too fast, there you can understand what is the problem is. The client is already stressed, especially the first session when they come, the blinking of eyes are, it's quite visible for us. Then here you need to have a mirroring. As you're standing in front of a mirror and seeing yourself, you can literally understand the client if you really look at the client. And as you're mirroring, you can also encourage the client to talk. Okay. So this is something you already learned in theory, the sola, squarely facing the speaker or looking at the client. Open your posture. I mean, we need not have a closed hands over here. You need to have just an open hands here. Then lean towards the speaker a little bit, saying that I'm interested to listen to you. So a little bit forward to the client. Then eye contact is maintained. Again, here you have to keep in mind, if it is an opposite sex, you don't have to stare at the client. Okay, so you can maintain the eye contact, but not necessary to stare at the client. Then relax while listening. You yourself need to relax, because quite often I have noticed is like when the students first time when they go for counseling, just after that learning the theory part, they are not relaxed. When you as a counselor not relaxed, then obviously the client will not be relaxed. We are only building up more tension for the client. So this solar is very essential, we as a counselors, to create a conducive atmosphere for counseling. I want to bring to your notice the importance of silence. At times, again, from my past experience, when we go for supervision for the counselors, the silence is not much given preference. If you want to be a good counselor, initial silence in the middle of the session is very, very essential. We really need to practice, because silence speaks a lot in counseling session. You can observe the client well, how the client facial expressions are, whether it is changing just after the initial talk, small talk, just after listening to the body language. So all this is a time for us, without talking, just understand the client. Then when we go ahead with the fourth step, let the client tell the story. Again, pause. Have a little bit of silence. Allow the client to think what exactly you want. Quite often, they will be saying different stories. They'll be start thinking about different stories. So involving and expressing is essential. Okay. Then counselor took the initiative to attend the client, giving an invitation, being interested in working out with his or her problem, taking appropriate steps and engaging them. Here we have clients who have shed their reluctance or resistance and are set to work. So all these three steps, what we were trying to do is helping the client to open up. Maybe the client is coming with a lot of resistance, with a lot of reluctance. Quite often, I have noticed when the clients are referred by a third person, when the clients are forced to come by somebody else, this reluctance and resistant is very common with the clients. So all these 3 stages, including the part of 4th stage, we are creating an atmosphere for the client to open up and tell their stories, maybe connected with the stress-related, personality development problems, behavioral problems, emotional disturbance, whatever it may be. Now we have created an atmosphere for the client to open up or to tell their problems or tell their story. Here, when they tell the story, they are trying to start expressing his or her concerns. Let the client tell the story. Allow the client to tell the story fully. Now, if the client is a small child, always we allow the parents to come along with them. And but still you give preference to the client, the child, whoever is there, then allow the parents to talk to us. Half-truth will not help the counselor to understand the entire context. So we have to have a clarity. How they are expressing is sufficiently enough for us to understand them. Otherwise, the further questions can be asked. You remember the previous professors were telling type of questions you can ask them if it is not clear for you. Then you have to keep in mind 3 H's. That is head level, heart level, and the hand level. Most of the problems are there, right? Either in your thinking level, your thoughts, your heart level, your feelings, and your hand level, your behavior. So the types of problem situation always will be between these 3. So counseling psychologists are of the opinion that the client speaks about their problem in 3 ways. That is their thoughts, their experiences, their feelings that they affect, and action, their behavior. So when we look at a client, you can really assess from the way they look at things, the way they sit, the way they hold their hand, whether it is a thought-based, whether it is a feeling-based, or whether it is an action or a behavior-based. I think this is already covered, but I would like to bring to your attention listening. I would rather say advanced, accurate listening, because about 50% of what we are learning, we are able to understand the client is just by listening to the client. Okay, so accurate listening so that we will not miss the message of the client. Then listening is hearing, understanding, meaning, and remembering it. Again, especially the initial stage of counseling, when the client starts telling the story, we might go for a ride somewhere, means we will lose the point. So this listening is very, very essential, and it requires certain amount of discipline. So don't entertain different thoughts from your mind so that you can be disciplined. Therefore, listening can be termed as a disciplined hearing. So I would like to bring to your notice what are some of the kinds of listening. That is, we all know, as we are working with a different situation, a type of fake listening sometimes we have, a partial listening, selective listening, projective listening, filtered listening, total listening. I think we as counselors, we need to practice this total listening. I hope you all agree with that, right? Now, the recent past, when they did the research, found that what are the reasons for inadequate listening for a counselor? At times, you can see in the clinic, maybe 10 to 12 people are there for counseling. It's impossible for us to listen continuously. In the college setup, we have seen there are many students waiting for counseling, or in the school still it is worse. Too many are there because some of the school counselors say it's beyond our capacity to listen. So what are the reasons for inadequate listening? If you are physically tired, you're preoccupied with something else, maybe again, counselors who are married, for example, when we have some issues in the family, when you come and sit in front of a client, there is a tendency for us to be preoccupied with the problem at home or in the office where you had it, or any of the issues that is being said. So please be careful about this. Don't get preoccupied with the other things. Then attraction or distraction, certain type of noisy ground or distracted with something. Then another problem is similarity of the problem. I remember once one client was who was a college student. She already had a love failure. The client was trying to say about the love failure. So she started to connect her love failure with the present client. So she thought she knows all the answers to give because she has already gone through such an incident. But no, you have to think of the client as a new one, new problem for each client. So similarity of the problems may not allow you to adequately listen to it. Then again, dissimilarity of the problem. Again, unmarried and unmarried people. So unmarried people going to a married couples, certain things can be not familiar for them. So they need not come to a conclusion, okay, this is not much important. No, for them it is important. So keep in mind that dissimilarity of the problem also can have inadequate listening. Again, at times, over-eagerness. You want to know what is going to happen to the client, or whether the client is going from step by step and getting into suicidal stages. No, hold on. Don't be so eager, or a type of curiosity even. What is happening to the client? What the client is going to say? No, over-eagerness can miss the point, or you may not be able to adequately listen. So remember, counseling session should be held away from noisy places, distractive scenes, and bothersome people. Suppose you have people who are irritating you repeatedly, please be away from them. And a continuous noise sees in and around, kindly stop the counseling and find a place where it is not so much noisy. A certain type of distractions like flickering of light or something, those type of things, try to avoid. So this can cause inadequate listening in the counseling sessions. The next fifth step is reflect the content of what the client had said it. You remember Jasmine was telling about attending, listening, responding, and reflecting the feelings of the client. So here we are putting it into practice. Reflect the content using the formula you say. Okay, you say. Next step will come, you feel. The first one is you say. So we are giving assurance to the client that you have understood his message, clarity to the client, you also the counselor. So this is again a psychological attending. What we spoke about earlier was a physical attending. Here, a psychological attending, making sure, telling client that what is said is whether I understood clearly. So as we said it, mental makeup with a clarity. Then responding. At times I have noticed not necessary to respond always, but it is essential. The quality of the counselor's response determines the further progress. Again, here you can give a pause. You can give a practice silence. So responding is to know the progress. Now you'd have been seeing time to reflect. Just look at the elephant sitting on the tree and reflecting. It's not that hard as such to understand the reflecting of the feelings or reflecting of what is being said. But we have a tendency in the beginning stages of counselors, it's very hard. Actually, it's not, because it needs a little bit of practice, effort, and you need to have an attitude. Now, let's get into the helping skills. So here we have a case study. Sanya, aged 17 years student with a broken family, fed up with the family atmosphere. So here it is. I am unable to bear anymore. My house is in a messy stage. Father is a drunkard. Whatever he earns, he drinks and brings home nothing. Mother is not able to manage the house. She beats and scolds my brothers and sisters. No peace at home, and I don't know what to do. So this is a scenario, real scenario. How do you reflect the content? Write what you would say to this counseling or the client. Maybe we'll go to the breakout section. So, Balaya sir. Dr. Balaya?
I am breaking the sessions.
Okay.
Okay, just hold on.
So, 3 in a group, you can just discuss few minutes and come out with a solution. How do you reflect the content and write out what you would say to this counseling?
Okay, just hold on. Okay, so I'm participants, can you hear me? 3 in a session, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to. All right, so here we break into groups of 3.
Yes.
Okay. 5 to 3, 5 to 3. All right, so I'm creating 50 groups. Yes, so I'm going to open. Father Pradeep, can you hear me? Yes,
Yes.
fine, yeah. So I'm opening all the rooms, okay? And sister, for how many minutes, like?
Yeah.
For how many minutes, sister?
Just 2 minutes.
Oh, just 2 minutes, okay. So I'm opening all the rooms, and you can join the rooms, and your time starts now. So participants, please join. Yes. Samyukta and Geetanjali have joined. Indumati Selshastri have joined. Okay. Room number 11, all of you have joined. I'm good. Room number 15, all of you have joined. Okay. That's good. Navina, Deepshika, and Jaya Joseph. Hmm. 25 CPCS, 173. Who is it? You're not joined. Look at the lists. So, okay. Looks like everybody has joined.
Okay.
Some of them have not joined. So in some groups, only one person has joined. We don't know what the others are doing.
Pradeep has not joined, I think.
Yeah, he has joined. Yeah, he's speaking to somebody.
Okay.
He's speaking to somebody, yes, yeah. We may not hear them, sister.
Yeah.
But they'll be talking among themselves.
Another.
They may not even hear me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Mohan,
Sir, சொல்லுங்க sir.
Ah.
Yes, sir.
Unmute the mics, please.
Excuse me, sir. Could you rejoin me to the breakout room that you assessed me to earlier?
Who is it? Who is it?
My name is Shruti.
Who is it? Who is whispering? You can talk loudly, no problem. Who is it?
My name is Shruti, sir. Could you please rejoin me or reassign me to the breakout room
You're in which room?
with Santosh Kumar?
Santosh Kumar.
Sir, I'm not in a group. There was little interruption. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So,
Sister rightly said I was.
Father, you are in which group actually?
No group. There was
No room.
interruption. I know.
No,
Yeah.
oh, because of the
That's what
interruptions.
sister was telling.
I also
Yeah.
did not get any link.
Don't Pradeep, we have not joined in group.
No, there was some
I
little
have not joined
interruption
in the
within.
group.
Okay.
That's okay. You can join the room because it's going to be time.
Oh,
So you
okay, no
can
problem.
join. Yeah, you can join the group next time. So
Yeah, sure.
we're very glad you're enthusiastic. Join the rooms. But you have to join the rooms on time.
I know in a
So,
common
as-
platform you
therefore-
can explain.
No, Shruti,
Maybe
Mr.
by the
Shruti,
time I can
therefore we
ask
give you
Sister
time.
Shobana.
Pardon?
Yes, but
Sorry, sir.
Maybe by the time I can ask Sister Shobana a doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe.
yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yes.
Sister, you were telling about displaced activities, no, sister.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I didn't understand that. What is that actually? Maybe suppose if we are so sad, we break something, a kind of no, in love failures, no, boys they go and break something out of
Yeah.
the pain because they have the breakout in
Yeah.
love feelings, no.
Yes.
Is that a kind of displaced activities you want to
Yes.
say, or
Yes, yes. Yeah, very, very true. Like your concept. Sometimes when we are sad, we try to act as if anger. Mostly it is.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
what
Then
I'm meaning,
again,
because
some people also have a dualism character. Like they must be sad, but they will pretend to be showing that they are very happy.
okay.
So they are not true to themselves, but they are showing us some. I mean, they are something else. Like, but we as a counselors, we need to understand exactly what is exactly the client is going through. May not be the presenting problem, may not be the thing as such.
Yeah.
All right, so I am closing all the rooms.
Uh,
Yeah, participants.
I think many have not joined, sir. Some names are coming up here as not joined.
Now we cannot do anything about it, sister.
Yeah, fine,
So
fine.
next
Now,
time, let
we'll
me.
have in the
Yes,
common.
I'm closing all the rooms here.
Yeah.
Participants, yeah, participants, I'm closing all the rooms here.
Yeah.
You have 54 seconds more. So you can still discuss. So we have 25 seconds more.
Okay. Yeah, by the time they complete saying whatever they started.
Sister, you could proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not able to shift my PPT. Okay. All are back.
Yeah, they are back, sister.
Okay. So some of you could share what you have discussed, especially like reflecting the feelings. So if you could ask them to unmute their mic.
Hello.
Yes. Can you unmute your mic and just explain what is the reflection
Good
or
evening,
how do
sister.
you
Good
reflect
evening,
the
sir.
content?
Good evening, sister. Good evening.
Yes, yes.
I am Dr. S. Jnana Saraswati. I would like to share the answer to the questions that has been raised by you. We three were in a room. One Mr. Hariharan, another one is Ms. Kavita. And
Yeah.
I initiated the conversation. Since you asked us to reflect the content by using you say, I shared, like, if I were a counselor, after patiently listening to the counselee, I would tell her, you say that you do not have peace at home because of your mother's not able to manage things as a result of your father's drunkard behavior and all that. And your sisters and brothers are being beaten up by your mother. That also gives you pain. I will ask her like this way. And then I would suggest her to the counselee like this way. Since you are 17 years old and you are going to step up to 18, so as per the law, then you will be a major. In that case, you can very well talk to the parents now onwards. Patiently go and talk to them repeatedly. Tell them that how it affects your studies mentally and physically and what you are going through. As parents, they will be certainly having soft corner for their children's sufferings. So definitely they'll be able to understand. That is one point. And second thing, by doing this simultaneously, when you cross 18, you'll be entering into college, and simultaneously you can go for some part-time job and try to bring some money to support your mother to manage the household. If this problem persists still further, then you can always tell them to come for counseling. This is what I said. And there is one Mr. Hariharan, a student who is studying psychology, said very beautifully that the counselor, he will suggest the counselee to bring their parents for the de-addiction center. It was very nice. And one Miss Kavita, she said that what we both of us are saying, that she said. So this is how our conversation went, sister.
Good.
Thank you,
Good.
sister.
Yeah, you touched upon the points. Very good. Congratulations. Good.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody else?
Hi,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Mahanta. I like to, ma'am. Someone is talking behind.
Can you open your video?
Actually, I'm
हाँ मैं
outside.
बोल मेरा फोन साइलेंट में
Okay,
तुम्हारी
fine.
पर नहीं तेरे कॉल आने में
Okay. So my
हाँ एक मिनट में
Yeah, go ahead. You're on mute.
so yeah, ma'am. So I'll be asking the counselee that this everyday scenario or when it happens.
Okay.
This could be my question because as of my point of view, every day couldn't be this case. Someday he can rethink about the positive things in their house, possible way to make the house okay by his side, what he can contribute to his house. So this could be my suggestion.
Reflect the content. Keep in mind the point. Here we are only dealing with reflecting the content. Okay, you are right. Partially you are right. But to the point you need to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Next, somebody else.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Can I speak, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, I'll switch on. So I was in a team with Ma'am Pratna, I think, and no, it was just us two, and we both, after going through the case study, we reflected that from the content, you can tell that she doesn't have a safe environment at home, and she doesn't have a space to be a 17-year-old as well as a student, and she doesn't have the space to be taken care of either. And being set up in a situation where her mother and father cannot manage the household, she's the next person who feels some sort of responsibility. So from the content, we reflected that it's important to first establish a rapport, because we don't know how much she's telling us with just this statement. It's definitely still important to not pry, but give her the space to speak more on it so we can fully understand the situation at home, especially her own personal space. as well as like help her and try and do something like free association to try and see what she thinks is a safer space, what she connects to herself between her father, the issues with his drinking, and the mother and the abuse, how it triggers responsibility or obligation or anything like that. So we can better understand what her triggers are, but also understand the more a more positive outlook to see where we can work on making her feel safer. So after that, it would bring us to first of all, like telling her that it's a really big step to speak up about such issues, and that it's important to try and involve the family. So like the last person mentioned, Miss mentioned that try and bring your family for either therapy or de-addiction rehabilitation. It would be, I think, the first thing she could do, Sanya could do, is maybe try and involve her brothers and sisters to see where they stand, because as siblings and as children, they're likely to feel a lot similar. So building a rapport not only between the counselor and the counselee, but also within the family might help her feel like she's not alone, and might change her like ability to bear the situation slowly. Yes.
Very good. Very good. Many points have brought it out. Good.
I think who is it? Dennis Everly D'Souza. She's talking from Goa.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, St. Xavier's College. Yeah.
Good.
So, good reflections.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else is coming forward to share? I think Malini. Okay. So if nobody is there, then we shall go ahead. So I only wanted to understand how to reflect in this scenario. So if you look at it, there are three different ways we can look at it. Is here father, one side, mother, and Sanya. So there is a lot of pressure from father, and as a result, emotional imbalance is there. Other pressure is from mother, again, added emotional imbalance. And she herself is not in a stage what she need to do it. She said, I do not know what to do. So this is the way we need to reflect the content. And what you all said, it's about what can be done is later stages, that after completing the steps, we can come to a conclusion what all can be done. Depends upon the theory that we have already heard about. So let's go ahead. So here, a few tips I can give you how to respond with the EISPU, that is evaluative, interpretive, supportive, probing, and understanding. E stands for evaluating. So any client who comes to us, a certain type of evaluation we make as a counselors, especially like certain suggestions, corrections, not much to advise, but yet there is chances of a little bit of advice. Then information, useful information and not useful information, all this we have to come to a draw it together and put it back to the client. That is a evaluative, or it is also called as an advising responses. But we really don't encourage as a counselors to advise the client. The second part of it is I, that is interpretative, that or analyzing the response. That is, you're going to explain why the client has such a problem, give some insight into the problem, and imparting some psychological knowledge out of it. So that is the analyzing part of it. Again, supportive or reassuring responses. That is, it's very quite natural. You don't have to be very overwhelming with the problems that is going on. So just bring down the negative emotional level. Things will soon turn out to be better. So you are giving a reassurance, a supportive support for them. Again, as we learned it about probing questions, that is again the responses. Then further, suppose you are not clear about it, just to get a further information, you can ask them just to explain the recent event or seeking certain type of questions, specific questions, not like too many questions or something like that. Or you can also ask about a little bit about the elaborative questions and something you can touch on the personal feeling of the client. Those type of questions you can ask. Then please make sure avoid inquisitive questions, as I said it earlier. Closed questions, that is just asking yes or no type. We won't learn anything from the client. Don't get any further information just by asking closed questions. Then some days I have also noticed like students in the early stage just practicing too many questions. They don't know what questions to ask. So one after the other, like all the W's they will ask and H also they will ask. How, where, when, what, all these questions will be asked. Please don't ask and overwhelm the client. Then continuous questions. It's not a quiz over here to ask a continuous questions. Okay. Then mostly why questions you can ask aloud, but make sure what type of why questions are being asked. Then leading questions, threatening questions. Quite often I have noticed like when the client is already depressed, what type of threatening question more can be asked, because we are there to support the client. So no more using the threatening questions. Then a type of ambiguous questions, two meanings, or one is innocent, underneath there is a wicked question and answering can be there. So those type of questions we need to avoid. Then poorly timed questions. You ask, the client will be saying one story, client may not have a connection. It is we who have to give connection for the client. So if you don't give the time for the client to answer, before answering one thing, we are asking another question, then the client will be in hot water, not able to understand. Then again, type of like quiz programmed questions, type rapid questions and all that quiz program you don't know. So please try to avoid this type of question, whereas you can ask specific questions, elaborative questions, and something if you want to have a personal feeling of the client. But again, I'm not asking you to have a curiosity questions. Okay, so this probing questions, we have to be very, very careful. Then the fifth one is understanding of paraphrasing responses. We had a lot of questions, I think, regarding paraphrasing and summarizing and all that. So pick up client's feelings. Here mainly, what feelings the client is going through. Mostly I have noticed is either client will be having a sadness, fear, anger, guilt, shame. These are the common ones we see in the counseling setup as such. So pinpoint those type of feelings and reflect it back to his satisfaction. So whether he is satisfied to know this is his feelings as such. Then frame of reference. We can also have a cognitive map, creating a mind map like these are his feelings, just to make him understand, not to secularize or think that, but just to make him understand, okay, these are the ways. So these are the tips for us as a counselors. We can take it to reflect the feelings of the client. Or you say, you feel formulas, we can use it there. I hope it's clear. It's a short form, we call it as a EISPU. Evaluative, interpretive, supportive, probing, and understanding. So reflecting the content, it can be like a verbatim report. That is word by word you are reporting. It is called as a verbatim report. Mostly students, when they go for project work, we tell them to write a verbatim report when they have that, when they go for the experience as such. Again, paraphrasing, reformulating the client's message in new words without distorting the meaning and the feeling tone. That is, you say formula. You can also use it as you seem to be saying, or you are saying, or you are trying to say. These are some of the ways you can put it forward to the client. And of course, please make sure that these are all in English. Maybe you're doing a counseling with your vernacular language. Please become aware of the vernacular language that you use it. Maybe we are too familiar with the language. We are too easily influenced by using certain language, but please be very careful, especially the part of reflecting the feeling of the client. Then kinds of responses as per ego state. I think Father was explaining about the egos, Eric Bennett's ego state. Whether you, I hope at least you know a little bit about the Eric Bennett's, that is, we all speak either from a parent level, adult level, or child level. Now, we need to know in what level we are speaking as a counselor, and we also need to know in what level the client is. Quite often I have noticed is like mostly we counselors as either adult or a parent as such. We expect the client to be child. It's not possible. Maybe we need to have an equality of a client also is speaking from an adult stage. So that part of it we need to be clear. Maybe you need to explore a little bit about ego state, Eric Bennett's transactional analysis. So next, when we go into the deal with the feelings of the client, that is reflecting the feelings of the client using formula. First we said is you say so. Here we are going a little more deeper step. You feel so. So here totally feeling, that is an emotion, not from the verbal narration, but rely on body language. Again, from the experience, I would say, or from my perception, I would say that client doesn't give us a clear-cut image of what they are really thinking. They can take us for a ride. Please make sure that you don't go for a ride along with the client like that. Come back to the point and understand what is a body language. Okay, so simply if you rely on the body language, you can understand much better than what they speak. Reflect the deeper feeling of the client. First we said you say, you feel, or you mean, or you think. Okay, so these are the ways you can understand. Then when you're not sure about your perception, ask, could it be that? You can use again, could it be that? Or another way of saying is, I am wondering if it is that. Or I guess that you are, or you seem. So these are the ways you can get a clarity of what you are trying to understand, the feelings of the client, because it's not that easy. In the beginning stages, it will be a bit hard, but experience will help you to understand the feelings of the client. Then the next step is allow the client to speak sufficiently on the feelings. Suppose the process of saying you have not got it enough, what is the feeling of the client? Because client will be shifting from different feelings. First, they may say that as if they are sad, but their body language will speak as if they're angry or they are fearful. So we need to have a real clarity. What exactly is it? For that, we need to practice empathetic understanding. I mean, Dr. Balaya sir was talking to you about the empathetic skill in communication. So that is very, very essential to put it into practice in this sixth step. Then facilitate the client to release the strong negative feelings. Again, from the experience, it shows that anger, guilt, grief, jealousy. So all these are some of the strong feelings the client will be coming to us. So pinpoint the problem. Suppose you think that you have not got sufficient information about the client, or what the client's story is insufficient, the words are not enough. You can always ask the client, can you pinpoint the problem? Any event that has happened recently or something as per a recent event connected with the problem. Okay, so what exactly has happened with this emotion? Maybe client will be telling about some anger issues. You can ask the client, what exactly happened recent past? Can you explain to me or pinpoint to me what exactly has happened? So that will give you a real vision, or you'll be able to visualize that this is the problem the client is going through, or this is the feeling the client is the victim of particular negative feeling. Yes. So there are 4 areas we need to keep in mind. faulty situations. What is the client's environment? Faulty thinking. Is it the client is having a rational belief or irrational belief? Again, faulty feeling. Is the client is persistent feeling of sadness, anger, fear? These are some of the negative primary feelings: sadness, anger, and fear. And again, is it a faulty behavior, like self-defeating behaviors? You learned about self-defense mechanisms. Then some of the client also will show like some of the psychological games. They will pretend as if I'm poor me, or kick me, or cox me. So all this is being even also visible from their body language. So this type of problems that occur as the developmental problems occurs, the developmental stages as such. Then certain times it is also disguised problems. We can never predict it as such. Then due to mental disorders, I think the next week the psychiatrist will be talking about the mental disorders. So when we look at the developmental problems, that is the prenatal, conception to birth, about 280 days. Then infancy stage, that is from birth to second week. Babyhood, second week to second year. Early childhood, late childhood, pre-adolescence, adolescence, early adulthood, mid-adulthood, and late adulthood from 60 to till our death as such. So those are some of the any problem that occurs in the developmental stages. Okay. Then trauma and stress related disorders, especially personality disorders. Like quite often nowadays we see mood disorders, anxiety disorders, panic disorders, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, victimization. Now with the improvement of the digital scenario, lot of cyberbullying, victims of cybercrime, cyber fraud, all this is coming up. Then sleep disorders, eating disorders, adjustment disorder. So these are some of the personality disorders we see common during the counseling sessions. So this is the up to now is the facilitative dimension we have completed. Is there any questions to ask?
Sister, excuse me. Now we can open up for some questions.
Question session. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Mohan, kindly unmute the mic, please. All right. So someone has raised the hand.
Yes.
Ma'am, yeah, kindly unmute the mic and you can ask your question. 93.
Good evening, ma'am. This is BG. Ma'am, my question is the client is a college student, how the counselor has to deal her as a parent or as an adult or with their age?
Not clear for me, please.
If the client is a college student,
okay,
how the counselor has to deal her or him like a parent or as an adult or with their age?
College student generally you mean to say, or is there any specific problem with a college student?
If he or she is having a love affair or some behavioral problems like that.
Okay. Behavioral problems the client is having it. We need to assess what type of behavioral problems. Connecting with any personality disorders or any developmental stages problems or any really psychiatric cases as such. If it is developmental problems, we need to assess in which stage it has happened. Then accordingly, we have to go ahead with it. Or if it is something trauma or a stress related or love affair as such is where it is all began, a little bit about, according to psychodynamic theory, a little bit about the root we need to know. Then from there, we have to start. Later stages, we can also apply CBT therapy. Since the client is a college student able to rationalize things. So it is a CBT is advisable. But again, We need to have a few sessions to know the client, what exactly is the feeling, what is the emotional imbalance that is happening with the client, then we'll go ahead. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And one more question, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, what is empathetic fatigue?
Empathetic fatigue. Empathy is putting yourself into the shoes of others. Fatigue is just understanding empathetically what the client is going through. It's as simple as English as we understand it. Again, it is also advanced empathetic fatigue. In a higher level it is. So you are trying to understand the client is going through what type of emotion. Again, we talked about the energy level. So you are trying to understand the client's energy level, what step we need to take in order to understand the client, if it is a fatigue level, and if it is a still higher level, advanced empathy fatigue, it is a still higher level.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, we have one more. Dr. B, yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good evening,
Yes,
sister.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm Bharati from BHSN College, Virudhunagar.
Yes, ma'am.
As a college teacher, we came across so many students who have problems related to their family or their personal issues, whatever may be.
Yeah.
If we want to give some counseling, they are not open their mouth so frankly. So how can we deal such type of students, sister?
Okay, as a college professor, this is a difficulty we are facing.
Yes,
can you
sister.
build a relationship with the client? Not for counseling alone. As
Actually, we build a friend. Actually, we maintain a friendly manner with our students. But the thing is, they hesitate to open their feelings.
Okay. Yeah, it's
So
normally happens. Normally what I do, I somehow make relationship with the client. I also connect with the parents. This is the only way. Building relationship is the only way to help the client to open up. Once they get there, once we win over them, then simply they will open up. Because that is my experience. Any resistant student, any reluctant student, once you build up relationship, maybe building up relationship may not be right directly. We may have to use our skills to deal with indirect ways. Because direct ways, sometimes they may not be. Who they are friendly with. Because I know of a few cases who were very reluctant in the college setup, who were very resistant to open up. I started to build up relationship with his own friends. Then through them, I entered into him. Also, I also asked the parents to have a little bit of connection with the client and brought it out, the whole thing. And it was a successful thing. Rather than the theory, I would like to say, this is my experience as such, how I have done it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. I think today we are getting many questions from the Virudhunagar area. Dr. Vijay and Dr. Bharati are all from Virudhunagar College. Yes. So welcome. Probably we take up a final question and then we close. If there are any other questions, we take up, otherwise we can close. Okay, so thank you very much, sister, for your beautiful presentation. You covered a lot of ground, and thank you for your availability and your presentation. And dear participants, so thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. I don't know whether it should be a request or a reminder. Now, when we break up rooms, when you get into the rooms, you cannot come and join the breakout rooms as and when you want, like. So you are supposed to be present in the meeting. when you open the rooms, you are supposed to enter the rooms instantaneously. So if you are delaying, then you won't be able to enter the rooms. So therefore, I request you to be online. We don't know, when we don't know when we are calling out for breakout rooms. Like it all depends, when the presenter asks for breakout rooms. Like so, kindly ensure that you are all online to enter into the breakout rooms. So, sister, you started very well. I hope you will continue.
Thank you, sir.
Without any fatigue, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, in fact, I was going through a kind of professional fatigue ever since we. It's good that you came in between and began your presentations very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you all.